She thought it was love. It was a trap. She thought it was love, the kind that arrives quietly, not with fireworks, but with comfort, with laughter in hospital corridors, with constant texts between long shifts, with a man who seemed to understand her without trying. She thought she was safe. She was wrong.
Welcome to Love and Lies Tales, where passion meets betrayal, and every story hides a dark secret. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your notification for more intriguing stories. Tell me in the comment section which city you're watching from, and what day did this video find you on.
Muna Adewale had spent most of her life serving people. At 26, she was already one of the most respected young doctors at St. Vincent Medical Center in Chicago. Calm under pressure, gentle with patients, brilliant in diagnosis. But outside the hospital, her life was small, controlled. Her father made sure of that. Victor Adewale, a name that carried weight in business circles, a man who built an empire from nothing and protected it like everything could vanish overnight. But there was only one thing he guarded more fiercely than his company, his daughter, Muna. Love is a distraction, he would always say. Muna never argued until she met him. His name was James Carter. He walked into her life on a rainy Thursday afternoon, pretending to be just another patient. Mild headache, nothing serious, but something about him lingered. It wasn't just his calm voice or the way his eyes studied everything in the room. It was the way he smiled, like he knew something no one else did. "You work too much," James said during a second visit, leaning back casually as she checked his vitals. "And you come to the hospital too often for someone who isn't sick," she replied, raising an eyebrow. He smiled. That was the moment it began. Their conversations grew longer, from polite exchanges to teasing jokes, to coffee after a shift, to dinners that stretched into midnight. James listened. That was his power. He listened to her frustrations, her dreams, her silent rebellion against her father's control. He never judged, never pushed too hard. He made her feel free. And slowly, Muna fell in love. Victor Adewale noticed. He always noticed. "Who is he?" Victor asked one evening, his tone calm but sharp. "His name is James," Muna said it softly. "He's different." Victor didn't like the sound of that. Different men bring different problems. "He's not like that." Victor studied her for a long moment. "You don't know men, Muna." She met his gaze. "No, Dad, but I know James." That was the first time she had ever stood her ground. Her father didn't stop her, but he started watching. What Victor didn't know, what Muna didn't know, was that James Carter had been watching long before either of them noticed him, watching her routines, her schedule, her habits. He had memorized everything, because she was never the goal, she was the weapon. 15 years earlier, a boy crouched behind a sofa, his hands clamped over his mouth to silence his breath. He was only 12. His name was James, and he watched his father die. A single gunshot shattered everything. The man who pulled the trigger stepped back, calm and efficient. Then his phone rang. "Yeah," the man said. "It's done, Victor." Silence. Then a faint voice from the other end. "Good." The line cut. He didn't scream. He just listened. "Victor," he whispered. That boy grew into a man shaped by one thing: revenge. James Carter entered the military at 18, not for honor, not for country, for discipline, for skill, for the tools he would need one day. By 27, he had found the hitman that killed his father, tracked him, watched him, and ended him. But that was after confirming who hired him to kill his father. It was Victor Adewale. Back in the present, Muna laughed as James brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You always do that," she said. "Do what? Look at me like I'm fragile." James smiled softly. "That's because you are." She leaned closer. "No, I just let you think I am." He kissed her. Then one day, Muna disappeared. It started like any other. She left for work. She never arrived. Victor Adewale's world collapsed in a single phone call. "Bring the documents," the voice said authoritatively, cold, controlled. "Transfer everything, the company, ownership, all of it." Victor's grip tightened. "And my daughter?" "She's alive. For now." "Where?" "An abandoned construction site on West 49th. The line went dead. Victor didn't hesitate. For the first time in decades, he was afraid. The building stood like a skeleton of something unfinished. Concrete pillars, dust, silence. Victor stepped inside, documents in hand. "Muna!" he shouted. A voice echoed from the shadows. "Over here!" James stepped forward, calm, unshaken. Victor froze. "You!" Recognition hit too late. "I knew your face looked familiar," Victor said slowly. "But I couldn't place it." James tilted his head. "You weren't meant to." Muna's voice broke through. "Dad!" She was tied to a chair, tears in her eyes, confusion, fear, and heartbreak. "James, what is this?" she whispered. He didn't look at her. Not yet. Victor's voice hardened. "What do you want?" James smiled faintly. "Justice." He stepped closer. 15 years ago, you ordered a man killed." Victor's face went still. James's voice dropped. "My father." Silence, then realization. "The boy." James nodded. "I heard everything." Muna shook her head, tears falling. No, this isn't real. James, tell me this isn't real." He finally looked at her, and for a split second, something human flickered in his eyes. Then it was gone. Victor stepped forward. "Take the company. Take everything. Just let her go." James chuckled softly. "You still don't understand." He raised the gun. This was never about money. Muna's breath hitched. "James, please." Her voice cracked. "I love you." The words hung in the air, heavy, painful. James closed his eyes briefly. "I'm sorry, I never did." Then, a single shot rang out. Muna's body went still. Victor screamed, a sound that tore through the empty building. "No, no!" He dropped to his knees beside her, shaking, broken, destroyed. James watched, silent, cold, satisfied. Victor looked up, tears streaming down his face. "You monster!" James stepped closer. "You felt it," he said calmly. "The exact moment your world ended." He raised the gun again. "That's all I wanted." Another shot. Silence. James stood alone, two bodies at his feet, the dust settling around him. He looked down at Muna. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then quietly, he spoke. "People think revenge is fire. They think it burns loud, fast, uncontrollable. But they're wrong. It's cold, patient. It waits, grows, learns. And when it finally comes, it doesn't scream. It whispers, and it takes everything.